Hi dear aspirants, I welcome you to Orush Dijon's free YouTube classes. So this session is actually to help the aspirants, those who are going to appear for main exams of SBI PO, IBPS PO and as IBPS clerk of 2021. So the questions are designed in such a way that they will be useful for them as for revision, as well as to know how the examiner frames a question or what sort of points really comes in the exam, etc. So I'll be presenting you 30 GA questions along with very brief explanation which is required to understand other points related to the question. So there will be 25 questions in each video and I'll be doing 40 videos. As early as possible, I'll try to complete this 40 videos. So you'll be getting 1,000 very important questions that has a probability of appearing in the mains exam of SBI PO, IBPS PO and IBPS clerical mains. So hope this will be useful. If at the end of the video, if you feel the content was useful, please do like the video, share the video and ask your friends and others to subscribe, and you do please subscribe to get the updates as and when the videos are uploaded. Thank you. And the first question comes here. Gibna, so GBINA, which was making into the news in the recent past. These 25 questions actually belongs to the month of July. So I'm starting from July and I'll compile the questions up to December. So by the end of Jan 10th, likewise. So let January 10th be tentative date for completion of this 40 videos, because before that probably IBPS exam PO, whether it is PO or clerk, may not take place. So both IBPS PO as well as clerical mains will be after 15th of January probably. So I'll try to complete all 40 videos by 10th of January. Okay. So the first 25 questions in this set or in this video will be from July of 2021. Okay, so first question is Gibna, which is an expansion or acronym that was making it to the news in the recent past, that is in July, June, etc. What is actually Gibna stands for? So the options are: it's a basketball association of USA, famous business school in Singapore. So it is all about making you getting confused by looking at the options. If you have never gone through what is Gibna, then it's highly impossible to select the appropriate answer. Okay, so it will be very confusing because B with basketball, you might get confused. How a business school, that might actually lead you to confusion, as well as the correct option is C. So it's a regulation act, means it's an act that regulates certain business that is related to financial sector. It's actually related to insurance sector. So recently government has made certain amendments. So government is in the mood of privatization of financial institutions, public financial institutions, namely banking as well as banks and insurance companies. Government is planning to go for IPO, that is publicizing LIC, and it is actually planning to privatize one of the four general insurance companies. There are four general insurance companies in India. Of that, one is scheduled to be privatized. Probably it might take place in 2022, if at all it happens. But this Gibna was making into the news with respect to privatization. So it is nothing but there were certain changes to the Regulation Act of Insurance Business in India, so which actually was made with an intention of privatizing one of the four general insurance companies that are existing in India at present. So the correct answer is it is a regulation act related to financial sector of India. Okay, the points that you need to know. So general insurance business. So GIBNA stands for General Insurance Business Nationalization Act. Nationalization means making it a government organization. If you're actually transferring the ownership from private people to government, then it is called as nationalization. So earlier in 1972, around 108, 107. So 107 general insurance companies in 1972, which were private, were in private hands. Private people used to run them, but all of them were acquired by government, and they were converted into four nationalized insurance companies working in general insurance sector. 107 companies were amalgamated to form four large entities. They are known as national general insurance companies, nationalized. So means the ownership has been transferred to government. That was happened in 1972, but now the government is going reverse. So now the government is selling off its stake, and it is looking at the privatization of the government company. Okay. So recently, Parliament has proposed to amend it. It was actually amended, and probably they might go for privatization. One general insurance company that is making losses. They have not told which company was that, but they have just hinted. They just gave a hint that one of the four companies might be privatized in the near future. So that's why this Gibna Act came into news. 107, you remember this because they might go back and they might ask you a question related to history of this current affair. Every time they need not frame a question from current affair only, they might go back and they might ask you some important points with respect to that point in the history. Okay, so 107 insurance companies were amalgamated. Amalgamated means nothing but they were merged to form four large nationalized general insurance companies through GIBNA, General Insurance Business Nationalization Act of 1972. GIC was also incorporated in 1972, but that was formed through another act, GIC Act of 1972. So this became actually the fifth company, fifth general insurance company. Okay, so GIC, the name itself is General Insurance Company, and it's a general insurance company. It became the fifth national insurance company apart from this four. So this is additional organization which was established through GIC Act of 1972. Later, in the year 2003, GIC was converted to a reinsurance company. Okay, now it is not a general insurance company. It is not offering insurance to public. Okay, it will be offering insurance to insurance companies. What is reinsurance? Offering insurance to insurance provider. That is called reinsurance. And this is a very important question. India has only one reinsurance company, that is GIC Re. It is popularly known as GIC Re or GIC Reinsurance Company. So General Insurance Company, which was actually established as the fifth general insurance company in 1972 through GIC Act, was later converted to a reinsurance company or GIC Re in 2003. And you have to remember the fact that this is the only reinsurer in the entire India. Okay, so for 130 crores of population, approximately 30 to 35 crores of insurance insured people, insured persons, there is only one reinsurance company. What is reinsurance? Providing insurance not to the public, but for the insurance company itself. Insurance companies will get insured by reinsurer. Okay, that's the thing that you need to remember. So the four general insurance companies will have their headquarters at different cities of India, excepting GIC, the other four general insurance companies, because GIC has become a reinsurance. No, GIC is headquartered at Mumbai. Along with GIC, there is one more company, New India Assurance Company Limited. Actually, it is acronymed as NIACL. NIACL stands for New India Assurance Company Limited. It is headquartered at Mumbai. National Insurance Company. It is one of the general insurance companies that is under government. So it is headquartered at Kolkata. Oriental Insurance is headquartered in New Delhi. United India Insurance is headquartered at Chennai. You have to remember these headquarters for sure. One question might come from them. Okay. Now moving to question number 2, India's first private. So you have to look at the term private. That gives you the hint. Okay, India's first private LNG plant. LNG stands for liquefied natural gas. Liquefied natural gas. This is nothing but the cylinders, the gas cylinders that we use regularly in our homes for cooking, boiling, etc. is nothing but LNG cylinders, LPG, liquefied petroleum gas. LNG stands for liquefied natural gas. Okay, so liquefied LNG plant, generally they are under until till date, until July, the business of LNG and LPGs are run only by government companies. BPCL, HPCL, all of them are run by government only. But for the first time, though there are many other companies in energy sector like Tata Power, Suzlon, Reliance, etc., no company has ever ventured into liquefied natural gas plants. But for the first time, a company entered into the field of producing liquefied natural gas, and it established India's first, and that too in private sector, not in government sector, in private sector. India's first private LNG plant was established by which of the following energy sector companies? So answer is option A, Baidyanath Ayurvedic Group. Baidyanath Ayurvedic Group. Okay, so it was inaugurated. So the first, the plant was inaugurated by Union Minister of Transport, Shri Nitin Gadkari, and it was inaugurated at Nagpur in Maharashtra. Okay, so it was inaugurated at Nagpur in Maharashtra. Next, question number 3. In his recent speech, Union Minister of Transport, again, the question is related to the same. Okay, so Shri, same topic which was mentioned in question number 2. So Shri Nitin Gadkari, so while he was inaugurating the LNG plant at Nagpur, he gave a speech. So in that speech, he has mentioned another very, very important term. He highlighted the importance of FFVs, a type of vehicles. Okay, so what are actually FFVs? Okay, to support India's energy initiative, India is trying to become a green energy country, right? We are trying to move away from fossil fuels and we are trying to implement renewable energy sources, or we are trying to produce our energy requirements, whether it is electricity or for other purposes. We are trying to produce it from natural sources like solar energy, hydro, etc. Ground means geothermal energy, etc. So to encourage that movement, the automobile production companies, whether it is two-wheelers or four-wheelers, they have to go for FFVs. FFVs stands for. So what does the first F? I have not asked the expansion of the entire FFV, but I am talking about only the first F. So out of this is first F and this is second F, right? What does the first F stand for in FFV type of vehicles? So FFV actually stands for flexible fuel vehicles. Okay, so the answer comes out to be flexible. If they ask you what does second F stands for, then the answer turns out to be fuel. But as they have very specifically mentioned what does the first F denote, then the answer becomes a flexible. So remember the full form, flexible fuel vehicles. Okay, these are the kind of vehicles that are fitted with engines. So an engine generally burns out the fuel, means it performs the process of combustion by what we call inflaming the fuel that is in the that is supplied to the engine by burning it in the presence of oxygen, right? That is what combustion is all about. So the flexible fuel vehicle contains an engine that actually performs combustion with single fuel or with alternative fuels or even with a combination of fuels. For example, if the vehicle is generally a petrol vehicle, it runs only with petrol. If the vehicle is of diesel vehicle, it runs only with diesel. But if it is a flexible vehicle, then it can run with petrol if you have petrol. If you supply petrol to the petrol fuel tank, then it runs with petrol. Okay, if you supply diesel, it runs with diesel. If you supply gas, it runs with gas. So that is called flexible. You can supply any sort of fuel. It is not restricted to one single fuel. Or you can mix it, or you can mix both diesel and gas to run the vehicle also. So that is those type of vehicles with flexible engines are known as flexible fuel vehicles. So you can use multiple fuels in the same vehicle. Question number 4. G20 Summit 2021 was hosted by which country? So these summits are generally asked in the exams: G7, G77, G20, etc. So out of the G20 is also one of the important summit that generally conducted on year-to-year basis. So in 2021, which country hosted that G20 summit? So it was hosted by which country? Italy. It was hosted by Italy, and the city that hosted the G20 summit is Rome, the capital city of Italy. Okay, so the points that you need to know about this topic is G20 is a group of countries, actually a group of 19 countries and one entire group, European Union. So European Union has around means if you consider European Union, it has 29 members. If you consider Eurozone with respect to currency, it has around 19 members, right? So this 29 members form a single unit. Means the total, if they ask you how many members are there, the answer is 20 only. But the total number of countries are not exactly 20. It is 19 plus 29. Total 48 countries are there. But whenever the question comes, what is the number of member countries in G20? It is not 48. It is 20, because entire 29 countries will be treated as a single unit named as European Union. Okay, so G20 was established in the year 1999. G20 was established in the year 1999. So it is the 16th G20 summit. So the G20 summit that took place in the year 2021 is 16th in the considering history. So in the timeline, it is the 16th G20 summit. So the another very important point with respect to this is that this question might definitely appear in one of the exams. So India is a member of G20. So that's another important thing that you need to remember. And being a member, it has the eligibility to host the meeting. So India is going to host G20 summit in the year 2023, which would be 18th summit. In 2022, Indonesia is going to host a G20 summit, but in 2023, we are going to host G20 summit in India. Okay, that would be 18th G20 summit in the history. And so these are the points that you need to remember. G20 2021 was conducted in Italy. India is going to host G20 summit for 2023, which would be 18th summit, and there are 20 members, 19 countries, including India as well as European Union. And G20 was established in the year 1999. Question number 5. PM cares for children. So I think you would have heard all this term already, but this is specifically for children. So that's the thing that you need to focus upon. So PM cares for children scheme was launched by Government of India to support children who lost their parents due to COVID-19. So some children definitely have lost both of their parents. So they're definitely, the future is miserable if no one takes care of them. So due to COVID-19, if a child has lost both of their parents or the guardians who are looking over them, okay, then he would have to enroll. He has to get enrolled. That means someone on behalf of the child has to make sure that he is enrolled into the PM cares for children special scheme that will be providing different type of amenities and facilities if the child gets enrolled under the scheme. So out of that, one of the benefits is the child will be receiving a lump sum of 10 lakh rupees, a lump sum of 10 lakh rupees once he attains dash years of age. Okay, so government will be providing the child with 10 lakh rupees if he registers for the scheme. But he will be provided 10 lakhs not immediately, but after attaining certain age. At what age he will be provided with 10 lakh rupees? So 18, 21, 23, 24, 20. So the answer is 23 is the correct answer. So the scheme was introduced on 29th May 2021. So once the second phase of COVID started. So the child, of course, the child need not register. Child has to be registered by someone who notices that the child has lost both the parents due to COVID-19. So he has to register at www.pmcaresforchildren.in. This is also maybe another important question. They might give you the entire thing and they might ask you what is the website through which the child has to register himself for the scheme. The answer is www.pmcaresforchildren.in. To receive the benefits with respect to education, he can receive free education, okay, and he'll be provided with health insurance. Government will pay the premium, but whenever he or she, the child, gets hospitalized, then he can get treated without paying hospital bills, but the hospital bills will be paid by the insurance company, okay, and he'll be provided stipend, not immediately, but after attaining 18 years of age. Once he attains 18 years of age until 23 years of age, on every monthly basis, he'll be receiving a certain amount from the government as stipend. Okay, stipend. The exact amount of stipend has not been mentioned anywhere, but it will be decided in the future. Okay, after attaining 18 years of age, he will get a stipend of a certain amount from the government directly into his bank account. And after attaining 23 years of age, he'll get a lump sum amount of 10 lakh rupees. He need not contribute anything. Everything will be taken care of by Government of India only. So the things that you need to remember, 10 lakh rupees will be provided at the age of 23 if he registers for PM Cares for Children scheme. The condition is the child would have suffered parental loss due to COVID-19 effect. Okay, and the other things are he'll get benefits for education. He can get educated for free. He or she is provided, the child is provided with health insurance. He or she will be getting stipend of certain amount after getting the age of 18 years, and he'll be provided with 10 lakh rupees of lump sum at the age of 23. Question number 6. Who among the following was awarded with Lokamanya Tilak Award for the year 2021? This is a very famous award given away by the government of Maharashtra. Okay, so Maharashtra, it's not actually, it's given by NGO from Maharashtra. Okay, so every year the award will be presented. Of course, due to COVID-19, they have not given it in, I think, 2020. So it was given in 2021. And who among the following? Generally, it will be provided or it will be awarded to the persons who have rendered the service towards India. So they would have made a good amount of contribution towards social service or towards any field of science or social sciences, etc. But for the welfare of the country, then those persons will be selected for Lokamanya Tilak Award. So for the year 2021, Cyrus Poonawalla has been selected for the Lokamanya Tilak Award because he was very crucial, or he was very important part of vaccine production in Indian subcontinent. So Serum Institute of India has provided the majority of the vaccine supply in India. So that for the service to the India as well as to the world by after providing vaccination, Cyrus Poonawalla has been selected by the jury of Lokamanya Tilak Award for the year 2021. Question number 7. India became the president of which of the following UN? UN means United Nations body. So there are so many bodies under United Nations. So in the year 2021, and that too for the month of August 2021, India has assumed the presidency or chairmanship of a very important United Nations organization. I'm asking which of the following organization was that? You have to remember August 2021. That is the crucial, or that is the word that gives you the hint of the exact answer. So the answer is UNSC. UNSC stands for United Nations Security Council. United Nations Security Council. It's a very important organ of the United Nations that actually looks after establishing peace in different parts of the world. Yes, so points to know. India became the president of UNSC for the first time. It's for the first time in the entire history of India that UN was established in 1945. So from 1945 till 2021, we never got a chance to be the president. But for the first time, we got a chance to be the president of UN Security Council because we are one among the 10 non-permanent members. This is the 8th time that India has become a non-permanent member, but it was the first time that it became the president of UN Security Council. How many non-permanent members of there? 10. So UN Security Council generally has 15 members. So if they ask you this question, then the answer would be 15. How many members are there, including both permanent as well as non-permanent? UN Security Council has how many members? So 15 countries will have membership in UNSC. UNSC stands for United Nations Security Council. Of the 15, 5 are permanent, 10 are non-permanent. India is currently a non-permanent member. 5 permanent members will have crucial veto power. Veto power means to vote on very important issues with respect to the world. Okay, so the 5 permanent members, you have to remember them for sure, because there might be a question where they'll be given 5 options and they'll be asking you to pick up the country that is not a permanent member. Okay, so if you remember this 5, then only you can identify which is not permanent. So the 5 permanent members of UNSC or UN Security Council are USA, United States of America, United Kingdom, China, France, and Russia. You have to remember them for sure. Question number 8. So which state's chief minister has launched Jana Sahayak Aapka Sahayak app? It's a mobile app for delivering government services to the citizens. Okay, to deliver certain services of the government to the citizens and to the business corporations of that particular state, the chief minister of one of the given 5 states has launched a mobile application named Jana Sahayak Aapka Sahayak, and the chief minister belongs to which of the following states? So if you look at the options, so the correct the options are Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, and Maharashtra. So the exact answer for this question is Haryana. The Chief Minister of Haryana, Mr. Manohar Lal Khattar, has launched this app to deliver government services to citizens as well as business entities of the state. So the other chief ministers, the other states that are mentioned has the following personalities as chief ministers. For Madhya Pradesh, Shri Shivraj Singh Chauhan is the chief minister. For Uttar Pradesh, it is Mr. Yogi Adityanath. For Haryana, as I have already said, Manohar Lal Khattar, and that's the answer for the question also. Manohar Lal Khattar launched the app Aapka Jan Sahayak, Aapka Sahayak for delivering government services. And the Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh is Sri Jairam Thakur, and for Maharashtra it's Sri Uddhav Thackeray. So you have to remember the names of the Chief Ministers: Madhya Pradesh, Shivraj Singh Chauhan; Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath; Haryana, Manohar Lal Khattar; Himachal Pradesh, Jairam Thakur; and Maharashtra, Uddhav Thackeray. NISAR satellite. This would be definitely coming in the exam. So out of the 3 exams, definitely one exam might ask this question. So NISAR, a satellite which is scheduled to be launched in which year? So NISAR is a famous satellite that is under construction and it will be launched in the year 2023. NISAR is scheduled to be launched in 2023. So the important point is the purpose of launching the satellite is to study the changes that are happening on the surface of the earth due to the major climatic shift. So due to pollution, there are major changes that are happening climatically or geographically, right? So earlier the monsoon has a specific timing, but now the monsoon is not actual as per the actual timings which we used to witness in the history in the recent past. Even 4 years back, the monsoon was almost very much regular. Okay, but from the last 2-3 years we are witnessing high whether it maybe the rains might be very heavy or the amount of rainfall through monsoon is might be very less. So there are huge differences among the average rainfall. That is because of various changes that are occurring on the surface of the earth due to shifting of winds, changing of water level, etc. Okay, so to study all these changes that are happening due to pollution, so 2 important world scientific organizations are planning to schedule or planning to launch an NISAR satellite in the year 2023 to study the changes on the surface of the earth. So question number 10 also revolves around the same topic. NISAR satellite to be launched in 2023 by ISRO. ISRO is one of the organizations that is going to launch NISAR in collaboration with which other scientific organization of the world? So it is in collaboration with NASA. You can guess from N and I. Okay, so N stands for NISAR, actually stands for NASA ISRO. So one organization is NASA and the second organization is ISRO, Synthetic Aperture Radar. So that is the full form of NISAR. NISAR is a satellite that is that will be used to study the changes in the surface of the earth that is happening due to pollution, right? So NASA is the space agency or government space agency of USA. ESA stands for European Space Agency. It represents all the European Union countries. JAXA stands for Japanese Space Agency, and Roscosmos is the official space agency of Russia, and CNSA, Chinese National Space Administration. So it is the official or government scientific or space agency of China. Okay, so you have to remember the countries and the respective space agencies. Okay, so 2023, NISAR, ISRO, and NASA are going to take part, and the expansion of NISAR is NASA ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar, and the satellite is generally meant for the main objective of the satellite is to study the changes that are occurring on the surface of the earth due to pollution. Question number 11. World Day against trafficking in persons means trafficking in human beings. Okay, trafficking means trafficking is an illegal activity where a person may be sold to someone else without his consent. Okay, or he may be kidnapped and you exploited for wrong purposes. Okay, so that is called human trafficking. Simply you can call it as smuggling of human beings. Smuggling, I think you know the word smuggling. So smuggling of human beings is technically termed as trafficking in humans or trafficking in persons. So many organizations are fighting against it, and there is a particular day where it will be used to generate awareness among the citizens of the entire world regarding trafficking and its sources, etc. Okay, so making people aware to save themselves from trafficking or smugglers, etc. Okay, so that day is dedicated as 30th July. So 30th July of every year, 30th July of every year is observed as World Day Against Trafficking in Human Beings or Trafficking in Persons. Whether it is child, male, female, all comes under persons. Okay. Theme. The theme of the day for the year 2021 is Victims' Voices Lead the Way. Means victims, those who are already suffered, those who have already suffered from the um, consequences of trafficking, they should raise their voice and they should make the other citizens aware so that the problem of trafficking can be controlled, or the smugglers can be kept out of the reach of innocent citizens or innocent victims. Okay, that is the thing. Victims' voices lead the way. Question number 12. Which of the following state is implementing a special scheme named Krishi Karna? So Krishi itself will give you a hint that it is related to agriculture, and Karna. Karna means he is famous for donation, right? So government and other NGOs will donate the amount that is required by the farmer to explore scientific ways or advanced farming techniques. So that is called Krishi Karna. So the state that is implementing this project is Kerala. Kerala is the state that is implementing Krishi Karna project. So under Krishi Karna project, the government along with some NGOs will construct a poly house. A poly house is a very small plastic house, very similar to greenhouse, for raising the plants. Okay, for raising the seedlings into for raising the seeds into seedlings or small plants before planting them. And the area that is required is just 2 point, very small land is sufficient. 2.5 cents of land will be used, and the polyhouse will be constructed on the land of the farmer, but the cost to construct the polyhouse or plastic house will be borne by the government and NGOs and not by the farmer. Yes, funding by the state. The program aims to incorporate advanced farming techniques. So advanced farming techniques to increase productivity means the amount of output that is getting generated as the yield after the harvesting of the crop has to increase by implementing advanced techniques, and the cost of implementing or inculcating advanced techniques into farming will not be borne by the farmer, but it will be borne. It will be borne, or it will be funded or supported by the government as well as NGOs, but the land belongs to the farmer. That is the only thing. 13th question. The name of the project is, remember, Krishi Karna by Kerala. According to the statement made by Amitabh Kant, Amitabh Kant is the current CEO of Niti Aayog, the planning, erstwhile planning commission. Niti Aayog actually frames the entire planning to be implemented for economic and social welfare of the country. Okay, so the CEO of that at present is Amitabh Kant. So India is, he made a statement while actually delivering a speech at a event. So according to his statement, India is the dash fastest digitizing economy. Digitizing economy means performing financial transactions in digital mode, maybe through card transactions without using physical cash, UPI transactions, scan and pay options, okay, directly paying for through mobile, etc. That is called digitizing the economy. So there are 17 major economies that are considered while making the statements. Out of the 17 major digital economies of the world, India is dash fastest, means it is adopting very fast to become digitized economy. So of that, India is at second position. Okay, India is the second fastest digitizing economy of the world of the 17 major digital economies. That's the point that you need to remember. That's it. Okay. Then the next question is, who among the following released the book? Means I am not talking about the author. I am not asking who wrote the book, but I am asking who released the book. So who released the book titled Shifting Orbits, Decoding the Trajectory of the Indian Startup Ecosystem. So the most important point that you need to remember is, one is shifting orbits, and the other word that you need to remember to answer it correctly is startup. So it's all about the startup companies that are blossoming in India. If you if you have read the newspaper today, it states that in 2021, even after COVID effect, per month, India has produced two unicorn startup companies. Unicorn means it's a very large startup company generating a revenue of $1 billion. If the startup company reaches $1 billion net worth, then we call it as unicorn startup company. So in the year 2021, for every month we produced, we means India has generated, or India has produced 2 unicorn companies. So at present we have around 32 unicorn companies in India. Okay. So that book was released by Amitabh Kant, the CEO of Niti Aayog. So actually this statement was also made while releasing this book only. So Amitabh Kant, the CEO of Niti Aayog, has released the book Shifting Orbits, which actually discusses the development of startup ecosystem in the Indian subcontinent. So the book was authored by 4 professors. I am not naming them. You just remember it. The question might not be asked because there are 4 names who authored it. So obviously they might not frame a question on this. So, but you just remember 4 professors from different IITs, 2 from IITs and 2 from IIMs have written this book. That's why I have framed a question regarding the person who released it and the person who has not written it. Okay, so the person who released it, Amitabh Kant, CEO of Niti Aayog. So that's the point that you need to remember. Next, this is a very, very important question. Indra Navy. Generally, one question will definitely appear based on the bilateral exercises that Indian Army, Indian Navy, or Indian Air Force is taking part, along with other major countries of the world. Okay, so Indra Navy is such a bilateral exercise, but it is done by Navy of India and Navy of the other countries. It is bilateral. Bilateral means only 2 countries are involved. Okay, multilateral means more than 2. Bilateral means only 2 countries. So it's a Navy exercise done by Indian Navy. Indian Navy has participated in Indra Navy, a bilateral biennial exercise, along with the Navy of which of the following country? So which is the other country that participated in the exercise named Indra Navy? So the answer is Russia. Okay. It was initiated in the year 2003. So since 2003, it is done biennial. Biennial means it happens once in 2 years. Every 2 years, we will do it. 1 year in India and the other year in Russia. So in 2021, it was conducted in Russia. It is between India and Russia, and it was also conducted in Russia. And that too, it's a 12th edition. It happened, or it was conducted in Baltic Sea. Being Navy, obviously it takes place in the sea. If it's conducted in India, it would generally happens in Indian Ocean or Arabian Sea or Bay of Bengal. But in 2021, it was conducted in Russia, and that too at which sea? Baltic Sea. So remember, Baltic Sea is in Russia. Okay, Indra Navy is a bilateral Navy exercise between the navies of India and Russia. Next, this is another very important question. Nandu Natekar, who passed away in July 2021 at the age of 88, was a famous sports personality. Okay, he is a very famous sports personality from India who represented India in dash means India in which of the following games on international stages? So answer is badminton. So he died recently. So the one who died is actually known as obituary, right? So generally one question generally appears out of 50 or 40. One question maybe or given on obituaries of the persons, the famous personalities who just passed away. Okay, so you have to remember this name for sure. Nandu Natekar is a famous Indian sports personality who represented India in the field of badminton. And the most important point that you need to know is Nandu Natekar was the first Indian sports personality to win international badminton tournament. Today we have witnessed so many champions. So today India has become almost a prodigy producer in badminton players. PV Sindhu, Saina Nehwal, K. Srikanth, Kashyap, etc. There are so many famous players, okay, who are very famous throughout the world, not only in India. But the first Indian who has won an international title for India in badminton was Nandu Natekar, and that too in the year 1956. He won Malaysian Open. Okay, so he has won Malaysian Open in the year 1956, and thus he is renowned as the first badminton player from India to win an international title. What is his name? Nandu Natekar, and he hails from the state of Maharashtra. Okay, he is from Maharashtra, India. Next, Akash NG. Akash NG, a new generation. NG stands for nothing but new generation. Already we have the missile Akash, but it was slightly modified with new additions and new technology additions. So that is why we call it as new generation. It's a missile. Missile is nothing but a weapon or warhead which is generally used to target enemies or target a particular place or particular weapon, etc. Okay. So missile which was recently testified means we have successfully testified it. We have tested it and it is working perfectly. So it was done by DRDO. Generally, missile production is done by DRDO. Space technology, ISRO. Defense technology is taken care of in India by DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization. Is a dash type of missile. So that's the question. Akash NG is a dash type of missile. There are different types of missiles, namely surface to air, air to air, surface to surface, air to surface, anti-tank guided missile. Okay. Out of them, Akash NG is a type of surface to air missile. You should remember this. Surface to air means it will be projected or it will be shooted from the surface, but it targets another, its target will be in the air. Okay. So let us suppose that a missile or an aircraft of Pakistan has entered Indian landmass. Okay. It is in the air, right? So we will project or we will launch Akash NG missile from one of the stations of India from the surface of the earth. So we will launch it from the surface and it will hit and destroy the aircraft which is in the air. That is called surface to air missile. Target will be in the air, it will be launched from the surface of the earth. So its range, you have to remember this point for sure. Its range is a very short range missile. It is just 60 kilometers. So to hit a particular target by using Akash NG missile, it has to be in the range of 60 kilometers, not more than 60. Okay. And if you remember this definition, so short range, we use the name short range missile for any missile that has a target range of 1000 kilometers or less. If the target range exceeds 1000 kilometers, then we can call it as medium range missile. If it exceeds 10,000 kilometers, then we can call it as long range missile. Okay. Until 1000 kilometers, we call it as short range missile. 60, we can call it as very short range missile. If it crosses 1000, then it's called medium range missile. If it crosses 10,000, then it is called as long range missile. Remember, Akash NG is a surface to air missile. Okay. Then the other very important term that is actually making into news, AMLEX. AMLEX is a device. It was oxygen rationing device and it was introduced or it was invented. It was actually developed and invented by one of the IITs, Indian Institute of Technology in India. It's an oxygen rationing device. Okay. Means it controls the amount of oxygen that is being utilized or that is being released from the oxygen cylinders in the hospitals. So in the wake of COVID-19, oxygen was very much necessary for the patients who are under critical condition, right? So oxygen cylinders will be generally releasing oxygen, right? So the patient, while inhaling and exhaling, means while performing respiration, he'll be taking in oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. So the amount of oxygen while inhalation and exhalation, certain amount of oxygen will go as a waste. Okay. So for that purpose, means to control the wastage of oxygen that is used in hospitals, generally on ventilators for providing oxygen to critically ill patients. To control the wastage at that point of time, IIT Roper has introduced or has invented a device and it was named AMLEX. Okay. So it's nothing but, as I already said, you can read out this statement. It regulates the amount of oxygen that is released from the oxygen cylinders while inhalation and exhalation by a patient, thus reducing the wastage of oxygen. Roper is a city in Rajasthan. So that's the point you might remember. AI for all, another very, very important initiative by Niti Aayog. AI for all. AI stands here. Here, AI represents artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is a type of memory that is actually incorporated or embedded into computer system. Okay, so generally computer has memory. So computer memory is made up of different types of metals. So, but the 5th generation computers have artificial intelligence as their storage part. Okay, so artificial intelligence is used to store memory of to store memory in computer hard disk. Okay, so Government of India moving towards digitalization, they have a target of making every Indian citizen aware of artificial intelligence. Okay, so For that, they are running a program in collaboration with CBSE, Central Board of Secondary Education, and Ministry of Education. Earlier, we were calling it as HRMD, Human Resource Development, HRDM, Human Resource Development Ministry. But recently, it was renamed as Ministry of Education. Okay, along with which of the following famous technological companies we are implementing AI for All initiative? So it is Intel. So Intel, along with the CBSE and the Ministry of Education, taking part in AI for All initiative. So the main objective of AI for All is Intel has prepared a course. It is a 4-hour learning program, and that too online learning program. It can be understood by anybody, generally who has basic literacy. They can understand this, okay? Because most of the program comes with what we call multimedia support. Okay, so through illustrations, through diagrams, through technical presentations. Okay, so it's a 4-hour learning program. It can be accessed by anybody who is staying at home, even through mobile devices. The main aim is to make aware at least 1 million. 1 million means 10 lakh citizens in the first year of the program. It's a 4-hour program divided into 2 sections. Okay, AI appreciation, which will be of 2.5 hours, and AI awareness, which will be of 1.5 hours. Okay, so AI means artificial intelligence, how a computer system functions with a very less amount of assistance from human beings. Okay, for example, the best part which you can understand is Alexa. So Amazon's Alexa, which can actually have the ability to turn off lights, to play the song that you wish by just giving a voice command. If you just give a voice command, Alexa, please switch off the lights, it will switch off the entire lights in the room. If you ask it to switch on the lights, it will switch on the lights. But you have to know some fundamental concepts of artificial intelligence. So that fundamental concepts will be delivered to all the citizens of India through this 4-hour course, and that course was prepared by Intel Corporation. Okay, so that is the point that you need to remember. Next, Raja Mircha. Raja Mircha, a geographical indication certified variety of chili. It's a chili variety. Okay, it's a GI certified product from which of the following states? I think you know what is geographical indication. So a particular product, it may be a cooking item, or it may be a naturally produced agricultural product, or saris, sweets, etc. All of them will get a GI tag if there is a sufficient proof that that variety was developed and grown in a particular region only. Then only it will get a geographical indication tag. Means that part, that sweet or that sari or that agricultural product can be produced with some uniqueness in a certain geographical portion, in a city, or in a particular district, or in a particular village, or in a particular state. So that particular state or that particular village will be given geographical indication tag. Similarly, Raja Mircha, a variety of chili, an agricultural product, got geographical indication tag way back in 2008 itself. So, but it was recently in news. That is why I have framed this question. Raja Mircha is a geographically identified product from which of the following states? So the answer is Nagaland. Answer is Nagaland. So Raja Mircha is a geographically certified mirchi variety or chili variety from Nagaland. So it got its GI tag in 2008 itself. And you should remember this point for sure. GI tag, once awarded to a particular product, it will be valid only for 10 years. After 10 years, you have to prove again that this product originated from so and so place, and it has some unique features. And again, they will grant you GI tag certification. It will be valid once again for another 10 years. So after every 10 years, you have to get it renewed. Okay, so renewal is a compulsory process to continue that GI tag. So Indian GI registry. So there should be some organization, no, to certify a product to be GI certified, or to give a certain unique certification. There should be some organization to verify the documents submitted by a particular state government or a particular city corporation, etc. Right. So in India, we call it as a Geographical Indication Registry of India. So that Geographical Indication Registry of India is headquartered at Chennai, Tamil Nadu. This question was asked several times, and this question was also asked previously. So you have to remember all these points. Raja Mircha from Nagaland, it's a GI tag variety of chili. And the GI tag, it got GI tag in 2008. GI tag once awarded will be valid only for 10 years, and later on it has to be renewed for sure. And India's GI registry is located or headquartered at Chennai, Tamil Nadu. Then, which city has hosted? It's already completed. Okay, which in the month of July. So, which city has hosted Global Education Summit in year 2021? So, the answer is option C, London. So London has hosted Global Education Summit. Global means all the world countries will participate and discuss what should be the way of providing education at lower level, middle school level, higher education. So what modes has to be encouraged, what should be the curriculum, how we have to frame the syllabus, how we should develop the intuition of creating things like means the children should be encouraged through the syllabus to innovate new things, to adapt new methods, to read. They should get away from these rotten kind of things, means by hearting and just answering or taking the answers. They have to understand, they have to analyze, and they have to have the knowledge of all the subjects, so basic subjects like mathematics, science, etc. So the purpose of Global Education Summit is to incorporate new methods of learning into education system. Okay, so that was held in London for the year 2021. Actually, two countries co-hosted it, Kenya as well as United Kingdom. United Kingdom means nothing but England along with Wales. And a part of Scotland also comes under United Kingdom, but the capital of United Kingdom is London only. Okay, so United Kingdom along with Kenya actually co-hosted. Though it was held in United Kingdom, the arrangements, monetary things are taken care of by Kenya also. Okay, so the objective of Global Education Summit for 2021 is to raise 5 billion United States dollars, $5 billion for taking care of education in most backward countries. Okay. Next, Blue Origin. Blue Origin is a space technology company that is owned by. So there are so many private space technology companies that are coming up in the recent past, that have come up in the recent past. Out of them, Blue Origin is one of the major company, which was started by Jeff Bezos, the head of Amazon. Jeff Bezos owns the Blue Origin space tech company. And if you remember, Jeff Bezos, along with his brother and some other officials of his Amazon or Blue Origin, have traveled to the space and spent some time in space. Okay, so space tourism. This company focuses majorly on space tourism. It is owned by Jeff Bezos. And you should remember this also. Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of Facebook, he owns a company named as Metaverse. Okay, so in future the logo of the Facebook also might change, because it was actually incorporated under the parent company Metaverse. Metaverse also entering into the field of space technology. Okay, so Elon Musk. I think you know, he is the owner of three major companies in different fields. SpaceX is his space tech company. Richard Branson, another very important person, he also completed the space flight under space tourism. His company is Virgin Galactic. Virgin Galactic. Sanjay Nakanti is from India. It's a startup. Okay, and his company name is Dhruva. It is also a space tech company, which has the intentions of developing satellites and spacecrafts in future. Question number 23, which Indian IT firm, Indian IT firm means information technology firm, has developed a portal called Vaccine Ledger. Vaccine Ledger portal, which is a ledger. Ledger means it's a track record. It will note down the statistics, and it will save the statistics of how many people got vaccinated in India, how many people got vaccinated in Pakistan, USA, etc. How many got second dose of vaccination, likewise. So the basic details of vaccination will be stored, and that too, the details contains not only India's vaccination campaign, but the vaccination campaign of the entire world. That is why it is known as Vaccination Ledger, which actually has the statistics of global vaccine tracker. It was developed, that application was developed by StatVag. It's a company, it's a digital supply chain company from Hyderabad. So it collaborated with one of the Indian major IT firms to develop this portal, Vaccine Ledger portal, and the company that actually helped them to develop the portal was Tech Mahindra. Tech Mahindra and Startwag, a supply chain, digital supply chain from Hyderabad, started or actually launched a portal called Vaccine Ledger, which will maintain the statistics of global vaccination program. So it is an open source platform. Anybody can enter the statistics. Anybody can actually monitor the statistics or use the statistics. It's a blockchain technology based maintenance for COVID-19 vaccine supply. Question number 24. What is the maximum amount? You should underline this word, maximum amount that can be paid to the depositor per account per bank by DICGC in case of bankruptcy. What is bankruptcy? If the bank entered into losses, or if the bank is unable to sustain, and if it goes bankrupt, means it will not run the business, it will be shut off, the properties will be sold, then the persons who have actually deposited will be under the loss, right? Okay, so to save them earlier, every bank in India which actually collects deposits from the public has to insure their deposits, whether it is a term deposit, saving deposit, everything will be insured. Insured with which corporation? Insurance will be provided by DICGC. So for that, bank will pay premium for every 100 rupees, which we'll discuss later. Okay, so this DICGC, once the bank is declared bankrupt by Reserve Bank of India, this DICGC will be paying insurance amount to every depositor of that particular bank which got bankrupt. Earlier, the amount was 1 lakh, but in 2020 only, the government has increased the amount from 1 lakh to 5 lakhs. Yes, so earlier it was only 1 lakh, but right now, every account holder for one bank will get 5 lakh rupees. Okay, not every time, but if the bank goes bankrupt, means if the bank won't exist, if the bank ceases to run the business, then to sustain the losses, let us take an example. If the account holder has 10 lakh rupees in his fixed deposit account, and that bank went bankrupt and it closed its operations, so generally the person will lose the entire 10 lakh rupees. But there is a condition: every bank and every deposit has to be insured with DICGC for sure. Okay, so in that case, he won't get 10 lakhs, but he will get at least 5 lakhs. So the loss will be minimized. So that is called, that's actually the concept of insurance, right? Every account holder will get 5 lakh rupees. If he has only 100 rupees in his account, then he'll be provided 5 lakhs. No, he'll not be getting anything actually. But if he has more amount, then he'll get at least 5 lakh rupees. It was actually raised to 5 lakh rupees from earlier 1 lakh. That happened in 2020. DICGC actually stands for Deposit Insurance and Credit Guarantee Corporation, which was established in the year 1978 through DICGC Act only. Deposit Insurance and Credit Guarantee Corporation means if you lose something by depositing it into banks in the form of fixed deposit, etc., then you'll get a minimal amount as a return. Means to reduce the losses, they will pay you 5 lakhs. Earlier it was only 1 lakh, but now it has been increased to 5 lakh. If you have only 2 lakh, then they will calculate according to what premium and the eligibility amount will be paid back to you. If you have only 2 lakh in your account, they won't pay you 5 lakhs. So depending on the amount that is existing in your account, you will be paid in proportion. The maximum amount will be 5 lakh per account. Okay. DICGC is headquartered at Mumbai. And earlier bank used to pay only 10 paisa for every 100 rupees. So for every 100 rupees, a bank has to pay a premium of 10 paisa to DICGC. Okay, DICGC will get a premium of 10 paisa for every 100. But recently in 2021, the premium has been increased by 20% and it has been kept at 12 paisa for every 100 rupees of deposit as premium to be paid by the bank to DICGC. Question number 25. DICGC has to settle the amount to the account holder, that is 5 lakh per account maximum, to the account holder within how many days after RBI declaring the bankruptcy? So if RBI declares that so and so bank, XYZ Bank Limited, has gone bankrupt and the operations will be ceased out. Okay, in that case, from that date of announcement, DICGC has to pay the insurance amount to the account holder within 90 days. Earlier, generally, it used to take 8 years. Okay, 8 years to 10 years is the time period to get back the amount. Okay, so if the account holder is a very aged person, maybe at 65 or 70, he might die within 1 or 2 years. So who will receive his amount? Nobody knows actually. So that's why to reduce the amount of time that is actually taken to provide the insurance amount in case of bankruptcy, it was reduced from 8 to 10 years to 90 days. So according to the current regulations and rules, the DICGC corporation has to settle the insurance amount to every account holder within 90 days from the declaration by RBI that the bank has gone bankrupt. Okay. Earlier it used to take 8 to 10 years, but currently it has been reduced to 90 days. So these are the 25 very, very important questions and the related points for the main examinations or the upcoming main examinations of IBPS and SBI. So hope you have learned something and hope you felt the content useful for your preparation. If you really found it useful, please do like the video, share the video, and if you have any suggestions to reduce the length of the video, etc. If you want only questions and if you don't want the supporting or related information, then I can reduce the length of the video. If you want important points, then the video length will be slightly more. You can provide the suggestions in the comments, or if you found this useful, then you can make sure that you like the video, and please post your comments and please ask your friends to go through the content as it is free. It will be definitely useful, and please do subscribe and share.